Well, hey, Rachel, I'm back. Well, they don't know that. Maybe we never left, according to
Just
them.
say that. What else we're continuing.
Talking about AJ versus Pulev. Anthony Joshua, unified heavyweight champion, taking on Kubrat Pulev, a former world title challenger. Rachel, AJ's back, and he's back in the boxing ring, and I'm excited about the fight.
Is this a mandatory for him? Or just the next? We don't know.
Yeah, it's a mandatory.
Okay.
Pulev definitely deserves the title shot.
This is one of those fights, probably like a year ago, where we knew what was ahead for Fury. We knew what was ahead for Joshua. But because remember, him and Fury signed a preliminary, some kind of document that they are indeed going to fight. But they had people in front of them. Yeah. And this was one of the fights where I was like, this isn't a gimme for Anthony Joshua at all.
It's not. And Joshua hasn't fought in a super long time.
Especially given that he lost to Andy Ruiz.
Pulev, the only person I think Pulev's lost to was Vladimir Klitschko, and that was a while back.
Yeah.
Pulev's a good fighter. AJ is favored in the fight. He should be favored in the fight. But here's the other thing about this fight. My inside sources have told me via my looking around on Twitter that AJ, that Tyson Fury is going to be maybe there. And maybe they're hoping to announce, hey, we're going to fight next. Sometimes in boxing history, sometimes that happens, and that fight doesn't get to happen because you're already thinking about your next fight, and maybe you're not really paying attention to what's right in front of you. And a good fighter in Kubrat Pulev, especially, listen, Joshua already kind of did this against Andy Ruiz.
Right.
So hopefully he's learned his lesson. But I'm saying plenty of times in boxing history this has happened.
Sometimes maybe you can have your team, your manager, your promoter, there's other people involved. They can look past fights all they want because they're not going to be the one in the ring.
But you can.
But my hope is that Anthony Joshua is totally focused and that he's not the one, if there's something being orchestrated on the side, he's not the one doing it. The other thing I would put out there is that Tyson Fury also has an opponent coming up in...
No, I think he pulled out of that. He's waiting for this fight to be...
Oh, so I missed that news.
I think so.
Okay. So that fight's not happening.
That's what my latest Twitter sources tell me.
Okay, well,
I'll tell you what.
I learned that here
I did read
on Real Talk.
the majority of a headline which suggests that AJ realizes that maybe he should be a little concerned about ring rust. And so if that's true, if he's worried about that, that tells me that at least his head is in the right place, right?
Yeah,
because he's like, hey, he's thinking about the type of things that he needs to think about before he goes into what arguably is the biggest fight of his life. Again, because if he wins this fight, it sets up the fight against Tyson Fury, and that would crown the first undisputed heavyweight champion in hit boxing since Lennox Lewis did it in, 1999?
Don't you mean Lenn-Ox?
I'm sorry, Lenn-Ox. And Lennox Lewis, who we call him Lenn-Ox now. I can't get over that.
What is this in boxing where years, perhaps decades later, you can correct a pronunciation or a spelling of your name.
Like celebrity
and then we're like,
champions.
Man, like
Gennady with the I, and then Vitaly. It was Vitaly and
Vitaly, and then Vitaly, and I need boxers to right out of the gate tell us what your name is.
Tell me, Lenn-Ox.
Tell us how to spell it. Just write it right out of the gate. I wondered, because this was so crazy, and it's decades later. I was like, is this true? Or is he just trolling everybody? And he's like, secretly, this pleases me that now people are going to say my name in this weird way.
That's like an inside, totally complete inside himself joke. Or listen, I also considered this possibility. What if this isn't Lennox Lewis? He was replaced with a life-sized robot droid. That is Lenn-Ox. I am Lennox Lewis. Is it Lewis? I don't know now. I feel stupid. This is one of the fighters that I watched, growing up, right? I mean, that era of heavyweight boxing is why probably I'm a combat sports writer. Vander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, and Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, those fighters. And now I feel completely humiliated by his name. Unless it's a Lenn-Ox 2000. Also, can we... What Rachel and I have talked about is that the way I remember it at least, is saying it like Maura Shit from Schitt's Creek.
It's Moira Rose.
Moira Rose from
the series Schitt's Creek.
She's like, Lenn-Ox.
That is how
Lenn-Ox
she would say it.
All
right, back to AJ. I'm excited to see him fight. Also, if you don't know, if you're here in the United States, this is a daytime fight for us. So that's always a special treat because it's not going to be overlapping. Because there is also a UFC pay-per-view this weekend. So hey, thanks for tuning in, however you tune in, and we appreciate you, Best Fight Friends.